I have a word and a message. And the word is for somebody, a few people. Actually, I believe it's for quite a few people in this room. And as I sat over there and worshiped and just enjoyed the presence of the Lord with my wife, I heard this. Remember how long, Rick, you wanted to fit in? Remember how hard you tried to fit in? How long you went to church? I was a youth pastor for 20 years, a worship pastor for most of that time. All these years trying to fit in. I was with Christians, but I didn't feel like I fit. Isn't that sad? And the Lord reminded me of what that felt like. And he said, there are people in this room that are still just trying to fit in. Because we all want to fit in. We desire deep. We have a longing to fit in. And then the Lord said this to me. He said, when I started adjusting my life to fit Jesus in, when I began to forget so much about how much I wanted to fit in and began to fit Him into me, when I did the work and changed the things and got rid of the things and added the things that began to fit Jesus into me, He started reshaping me so that I began to fit in when I was supposed to. Because sometimes you're not supposed to fit in where you're at. You know that. But He began to fit me in where I was supposed to when I was fitting Him in to my life. And it's been that way ever since. And I sat over there just so happy that for many years now, we're at peace with God because we fit in, because we fit Him in. And now wherever we're at, we fit in when we're supposed to. That's a word for some of you. Fit Him in. Quit pursuing trying to fit in and fit Him in. All right. When I was a teenager, right here in Stewart, I was invited to a church, and this is quick, but it's important. I walked into the church, I didn't know anybody, and every now and then in that group, somebody would come up and speak a word, like a refreshing word to me. I didn't even know what that was. I was 16 years old, but it felt good for someone to come and say, you're a nice kid, or you seem like, or those are nice shoes, or whatever, just whatever. It was encouraging, and every now and then the youth pastor would say, you seem like a nice fella. And they didn't know that the only encouraging words I had ever had in my life up to that point were from my mother. And she got so busy just trying to hold life together that you go years sometimes as a person. You don't feel encouraged. You're discouraged. And those people, those on occasion adults or even teenagers that walked up and said something that was refreshing and encouraging to me, I had no idea then how much it would keep me pursuing Jesus, because it came out of them because of Jesus. And then I was asked by our youth pastor 3 years into the whole deal, would I consider taking over the junior high school ministry, which, middle school is what they call that now, but junior high was what they called it back in the dark ages. And I, of course, said yes. And I began to fit in even more. And I found that God, He really wants us to fit. But He wants us to fit into Him so that we can fit into each other correctly. We don't fit correctly into each other when we're not fitting in to Him. It doesn't work right. And as I went to church, and I did the youth ministry, I had no idea then that 42 years later I would be having looked back on 40 years of ministry. I had no clue that God had that for me. 4 children and then a wife who still likes me. I had no clue. And in I looked at it today, I thought about it. I've been a part of 12 different churches, 11 of which I've either been on part-time or full-time staff in that 40 years. And in those 12 churches, 10 of them, I would go to the staff meetings on a weekly basis. And I remembered this today. I was always stressed going to the staff meeting. I was always just kind of tense because the meetings were stressful. They were business meetings. And they were kind of not blaming, but who didn't do this right and who didn't do that right and how many kids did we not have in youth ministry that week. And it was just stressful. And I remember being stressed going to the meetings, being stressed coming out of the meetings. And that was that. And then one day, God called me to plant a church. And I decided we're going to have uplifting and joyous meetings. And we really did. They weren't stressful. But a little less than a year ago, I began to attend Revive. And I don't know how many months ago, I was asked to come on part-time staff at Revive. And I walked into my first staff meeting. And then I didn't tell Natalie this, my wife, but I was stressed about it. Because this is a bigger church, and bigger church, bigger business, bigger stress. And I remember, going to the meeting reluctantly. I was tried to be quiet because you're shy. And when the meeting was over, I went home and Natalie said, "How was your day?" And I said, "Really good." For some reason, staff meeting wasn't stressful. For some reason, it was really good. And here is what I found to be true. That first staff meeting, I don't know if y'all had been doing this all along. I don't know. But that first staff meeting, Pastor Todd said, "I want everyone in the room to find someone in the room and just out loud in front of everyone share an encouraging word to that person. Encourage that person in front of everyone," which I really thought, well, this is weird. I don't even really know hardly anybody. And I'm going to make something up. I was going to go for the shoes, And I thought about Dominic. I knew him a little bit. I'd been having some breakfast with him and a few others, Mike Sonneveld and a few other guys, and Dalton. And so I said a word, and that was nice. The next week, we had to do it again. And the next week, and the next week. And there's that momentary awkwardness that, is anybody going to have anything good to say to anybody? But here's what I want to say about that. In every church, in every movement, in every group, there's an undercurrent. There's always an undercurrent. And it can be a good undercurrent or a bad a healthy undercurrent or an unhealthy undercurrent. And from that undercurrent, whether leaders want it to happen or not, comes up out of that undercurrent and it filters into the congregation. Whatever's going on down here or up here is going to filter in to the congregation. And what is going on in the undercurrent in this church is a deep river of encouragement. It's a deep river of encouragement. I have been encouraged more in this 8-10 months, I really believe, than in my entire 40 years of ministry. As a pastor, it doesn't take much to keep you going. On occasion, that message was, listenable. Just occasional compliment. It doesn't take much. But I've been so encouraged. Weekly, Massey, you have encouraged me when you say things that are just encouraging. You don't have to, but they're sincere stuff. Or at least you make them sound sincere. And then Brittany, the last 2 times you've spoken to me, they've been deeply encouraging words. Deeply encouraging. Kevin, just get near you, and I'm encouraged. And then you hug me, and if something doesn't break when you hug me, I love it, man. I love being around you, near you. Deeply encouraging. And Mariah, and on and on and on. And I could literally name everyone in that room in our staff meeting, and it's something that is intentional. And that's where we have to go. That's where we have to go. I'm new enough to the church that I don't want to pretend that I know everything or much, but I do know this. We have to become absolutely intentional about encouraging each other constantly. Constantly. Because the world we live in is discouraging us constantly. And the culture is discouraging us constantly. And just shut the news off or you'll be discouraged all the time. Unless you watch the DMC, not the RNC. I get those letters mixed up. Refreshing words, timely spoken words of encouragement in a moment of time can change a life. completely change a person's decision, direction, and change and alter the trajectory of their life completely. Because you took a moment to speak a word of encouragement. Paul the Apostle knew this. Paul's writing to the Hebrews, and he starts off in chapter 10 kind of saying, look, God, there's some struggles going on there. He's acknowledging that there's some struggles between the Jews and the Gentile Christians, and there's a little bit of irritation going on. And he's saying, I need you to accept each other. I need you to accept each other. He writes in Hebrews 10:24, and let us believers, those who follow Christ, regardless of our background or how different we are, some of us are comfortable on motorcycles, some of us on recliners, some of us in sailboats, regardless of what our background or socioeconomic background, we have to accept each other and appreciate each other and love each other so that we can consider how to stir one another up to love and good deeds, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another. Encouraging one another. Every time we have a greeting time in this church, which lasts forever, and I love it. Every time we have that moment, that's a moment to stop and not just shoot the breeze, but speak words of edification and building each other up and encouraging each other. That's that moment that you go find somebody who looks like they don't know anybody. And you build them up and you encourage them. In Hebrews 10, Paul starts out saying, I want the strong to help the weak. I want the strong to help the weak. And we tend to think, well, that's people who are spiritually strong helping those who are spiritually weak. And that's true. But what about those who are weak tonight? And those who are strong tonight? And Paul's saying, I want those of you who are strong tonight to help those who are weak tonight. And you can't do that unless you're intentional, because it's just too easy. We're in America. It's just too easy to talk about nothing that matters. So we have to be intentional. And the only way to do that is to be near to God. So I love the fact that we get to worship at length at Revive. You have to avoid the presence of God when you walk in that door. If you can't even. And if you don't avoid Him, He's going to be there, and He's going to get you ready to speak words of life to each other. And I see it happening all over this room. It moves me. But it's got to happen more. It's got to happen all over. Nobody alone. All of us being encouraged, because depending on the week and what's going on in your business or in your family or in your own head, you may need a deep and meaningful word of encouragement. Paul wants the Jewish and the Gentile believers to accept each other, put aside any differences, and build each other up. And then he says this. He says, I want you to pray for me. I need you to get this right so you can pray for me. Listen to what he says in Hebrews 10:33. He says, I appeal to you, brothers, by our Lord Jesus Christ and by the love of the Spirit, to strive together with me in your prayers to God on my behalf. He said, I need you to get it right. Get along, because I need you to pray for me on my behalf, that I may be delivered from the unbelievers in Judea. Paul's saying it's stressful working with people who don't have a clue. It's hard to love them. You get scars all over you. And I need your prayers. I need your prayers. Get along. Would you just get along and accept each other so you can pray for me? Love that. That I may be delivered from the unbelievers in Judea, and that my service for Jerusalem may be acceptable to the saints, so that by God's will, and here's the key, I may come to you with joy and be refreshed in your company. Paul's saying, I, Paul the Apostle, need you to be prepared to refresh me. Speak words of joy to me. I need them. I'm coming empty. I need you to fill me up. Boy, if anybody, that comes from Paul the Apostle. We could easily say, well, Paul, he's got his own thing with God. He doesn't really need the believers. I mean, he doesn't need the church to help. Yes, he does. And he's saying here, I need you to get it together so you can help fill me up and refresh me when I come to you. Paul tells us here that we can be refreshed in each other's company. Refreshed, which means we need to be intentional about speaking the words of refreshing and words of encouragement to each other all the time. All the time. So, as we take the next step tonight, I'm encouraging you, just for the next few months, do not let what's going on in the world around you discourage you. Do not let political things discourage you. If you can accomplish that, it'll be a miracle beyond measure. Do not let what's going on in the political world even affect your peace with God. Because you know who rules it all? You know who's going to decide when it's all over? God, it's in His hands. And if He decides He wants to bring America to a new place of prayer, He may just not do what we're praying for. If He decides He wants to put us on our knees like we've never been before, He may just surprise us with the outcome. And we cannot be people standing in the streets going, it's wrong, we've been shit. We must be people of prayer and people of faith and people who know and believe God is in control. It's just a little side note. But tonight, so we're gonna put you're in charge now. We're gonna put you in charge. And the only rule we're gonna have here as we do this, we're gonna ask you to go find somebody. We're going to put some questions up on the screen in just a second, and we're going to ask you, and these are questions to help you get rolling. The very first question is my favorite question ever. I used to put youth groups together, and it was the first question I had them ask each other so that they could actually get talking, because everybody likes to talk about their favorite vacation. So find somebody, and we want you to talk about your favorite vacation and what made it so special. That's just the first question. That's just to get you rolling. But listen, here's the rule. It's a huge rule. Just before you start talking to that person you found, you look around and you make sure nobody is sitting alone. If two of you are talking and you see somebody alone, let's include this person. And you go find them. And if they look like they don't want to be in a group, go make them be in a group. Unless they run out the back door. Don't chase them.
Thank you for joining us today at Revive Us Now at our YouTube channel. Remember to click that subscribe button to Revive Church. And share this video with a friend. And if you'd like to support this ministry, go to reviveusnow.com/give.